ladies and gentlemen, and another exciting episode of the Scouser and the Scot.
Today we have got the one, the only, and I'm really buzzing about this one, the legend himself, Blaze Bayley. How the fucking hell are you doing, bud?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Been through this horrible COVID thing. I thought, I'd done 2 vaccinations. I thought, well, that's it. That's 2 times. I can't get it. But no, I just don't get it as bad as what it would have been. So at the very start of the whole thing, the housemate I had then, he had it, knocked him on his feet for not put him in bed for a week. And then other people, they've really suffered and gone to hospital, and other people that we know have lost their lives to it. So it's a crazy situation. So many US bands have cancelled, not been able to come because of various things to do with it. And, that's kind of been an advantage in one way for me and my band. Oh, okay, then we can fill in, and people have asked us. And then I suppose I've still taken precautions with hands and all of that, but you just don't know. And then suddenly it's, we're supposed to be doing Hard Rock Hell. I've tested positive. Oh no. And that also rules out Planet Rockstock. So I couldn't do that either. So, oh man, very disappointing. But luckily came back in time for my own 4 headline shows, which we've just done. And it was amazing. But those shows, people had tickets for a year because they got postponed from them. So it's some kind of crazy new normal that we're going through. The first thing I say over the mic is, thanks for keeping your tickets and managing to find them again.
It's true that.
After a year, it's not like, you put them in a drawer. I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've gone, I'm absolutely bored shitless tonight, and then gone, what day is it? Thursday. Thursday what? Oh, shit, it was the Blaze gig tonight. No! So I think that happens to quite a few people on these when the gig is, a long time in advance.
I think due to lockdown, people have managed to tidy up things and gone, there you go, I found me tickets, I've organised it, and they're all queued up, ready. So,
well, if they could come to my house and do that, would be great.
So there you go. If you're watching this and you know how to fucking organise things, Blaze is in need of you. Apply at the name below.
I was at one point, I was really organised. And now, I'm glad you can't see what's here. It's just a tip. It's really, I found today a mug. I don't know if it was coffee or hot chocolate or even how long it had been there, but I think that would have been a good start for the next variation of the virus. I could have sold that to the Chinese. Or, whatever is after Omicron, well, let me show you the inside of this mug.
BlazeCon. It's going to be It's BlazeCon. It's going to be called.
Yeah, that will be it. The Blaze variant, the one where you constantly listen to heavy metal.
The first thing you'll lose isn't your sense of taste. It's you'll go fucking deaf.
Yeah, you're deaf, but you've got good taste.
That's what we love. That's what we love. So Blaze, tell us. Let's talk about your past. Let's talk about your history. How did you start in music? How did you start with singing and stuff
I didn't.
Like that?
I'm not in music. You've found the wrong bloke. I'm not in music at all. I'm a stripper, right?
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm a male stripper out of work, and I was just sitting at my computer, and you 2 guys appear. Wow, Incredible. Crazy world.
Yeah, well, can I just say, if that's your game, Blaze? Normally we have to pay to watch. You've done something wrong, mate, because we got you for fuck all.
Well, that's the canny Scots.
There is that, mate. There is that.
And, you know, just going right back to my childhood, it was a single parent. It was me and my mom, and we lived in a caravan on a bit of land that my grandfather owned. We didn't have a TV. There's no running water plumbed in. There's a chemical toilet outside. You had to go to the tap, fill up the water bottle, and use that. And what we had was a radio, and my mum always had some kind of record player. And there was no thoughts about being poor because we're never miserable. Well, I never felt unhappy or deprived or miserable. We had nothing. My mum worked all hours, and my grandmother looked after me a lot of the time. But, you know, that was just how it was. I think when you're a kid, unless you're really miserable, you know, you accept things, don't you? And I was very lucky in many ways. My mum always had a record player, a very eclectic and varied taste in music, from show singers and musicals to reggae to some pop. My grandmother was a huge fan of Mario Lanza, one of the big tenors at the time, and he did a couple of big films in Hollywood. He was a heartthrob for many women of my grandmother's age. And his big song, I think, was Be My Love. Be my love, and with your kisses set me burning. Probably a different melody to that, in a different key and a different timing, but you get the idea. And we listened to music, and I think my mom liked everything from the Beatles to Rolling Stones, and, you know, lots of popular music. And then as I became a teenager, it was an incredible time in music history, because it was the dawn of the Sex Pistols. There it was, Sex Pistols came out, and you had Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Motorhead. All of these things seem to be around the same time, with this incredible message that punk gave, in that if you want to have a go, have a go. It's not about being good enough. It's about wanting to do it. And I think all of that got mashed up. I remember my friend playing me, you know, go around to each other's houses and pretend to be in a band. And he played me that first Black Sabbath album, and man, it was as spooky as anything. You know, years later, I'm in love with Black Sabbath, but right then I'm like, whoa, that's very, very weird, man. And I think it was a great time in music. Radio always ignored heavy metal and a lot of heavy rock, but we had this incredible thing every Sunday, the chart rundown, the top 40. No matter what, no matter who you were going to be played on the radio on Sunday if your single got the top 40. So favourite bands, Maiden, Motorhead and the rest, you could sometimes hear them on the Sunday. It was magical.
And you could record them on your cassette as well, mate.
Yeah, you could record them direct, record that top 40 playback. It was an incredible time, I think, in music. And I suppose it it's similar to classical music for me in a way, in that rock and metal, I'll keep going back to it. It's got a lot to it. But I think for every generation, there is a certain amount of really shit pop. I'm talking about, in my mind, I call Bananarama, and anybody like this kind of thing, and especially early 80s, just dreadful crap that they found a way, the record companies, to get onto the radio. Had no musical merit, while bands that we loved that played real music only got in the top 40 rundown. And I think rock and metal, heavy rock, just has more to it. I think when you go back to Led Zeppelin saying, we're not having any singles, we're an album band, it's radical. Radical. You can't think about that. I mean, they were absolute innovators. You can't think about that happening in today's world.
No,
But
everything's single related, isn't it? Because
yeah, and it was then.
Spotify. It's Spotify. Get single out, single out.
It was quite funny.
If you think about it, then if everything had a fade out. It was 2.5 minutes long, because that was the time between adverts on US radio, and that affected music. And then some people come along, some blues artists, and then someone comes along, an innovator in one way, and goes, hey, we're not in that game. And it changes things, and suddenly there's a liberation for artists, I feel. And as I was coming up and getting into music, when I was 13, 14, 15, these were the bands I was listening to, and it was a great time. I'm not a natural singer. I'm not really a gifted, natural person that can sing in that way. I've learned to sing because I wanted to. And I remember trying to get into the school choir, because it's mostly girls in it, you see.
Yeah.
And getting kicked out. Getting kicked out, they said, you're too loud. I think that was a kind way of saying you're rubbish. And then I remember watching a school band doing covers of the Sex Pistols, and thinking, I really think I could do a bit better than that singer. But nothing ever happened. And then later on, in my late teens, when I was 19, I was working in a hotel at night. I was the night porter, so I'd check in guests, then I'd clean the hotel, get things set up for the next day. And then you'd have that C90 cassette, which would fit an album on each side. So you could have 2 different albums, and all night just keep swapping it over. So you could have Van Halen album on one side, Iron Maiden on the other side, AC/DC. You could have 2 Rainbow albums, and that really was the seduction for me of music. There was power, aggression, passion, and being on my own at night around in a hotel. And the hotel was nearly 200 years old, the main building. And it's creepy as anything when it was windy. And that's what really got me into music, and I found myself singing along. And then there was a baby grand piano. It was a small ballroom, function room, and that was always open. And I plinked away on that. I wrote my first few lyrics, and I wrote my first couple of songs, just plinking away, finding a chord, and recording myself on the cassette player. And I started writing more lyrics at night when I should have been working, on my shift. And I used to finish work 9, 10 a.m. in the morning, going to Birmingham, and Birmingham Odeon had every band playing there. Bon Jovi, Iron Maiden, Metallica. It was about 1,200 to 1,500 seats, I think, Birmingham Odeon. A narrow, small thing. I now know. I didn't know that at the time. It seemed enormous because it was the local venue. And everybody played there. Metallica played there twice or 3 times. You know, Maiden played there 4 or 5 times. And Ozzy Osbourne played there. Bon Jovi, can you imagine him playing to 1,200 people now? You know, it's just bizarre. But that was the time it was. I was so lucky. And I would finish work, go to Birmingham Odeon, and anything rock or metal, I didn't care if I knew them or not, I would buy the ticket. And there I was one night. I liked Ronnie James Dio from what I'd heard with Black Sabbath and with Rainbow. And it was the Holy Diver tour. And he sang Children of the Sea, which I'd never heard before. And it's in the misty mornings on the edge of time. And it was so gentle and smooth, reaching for the stars, we blind the sky. Damn, now they say that it's a fool. And I'm like, wow. And I liked everything up to that point, but I was completely captivated by this thing. After the gig, I had to go to work. And there I am, pushing my hoof around at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I start thinking, well, what am I going to be doing with the rest of my life? You know, pushing this pigging hoof around and mopping up sick in a hotel toilet. And if I could do anything, what would I do? And that was the epiphany, really, because it was, well, if I could do anything, I would be exactly like Ronnie James Dio. I'd be in a rock band and I'd tour the world. And the next thing, I suppose I've got to thank my parents for however they raised me and the courage and self-esteem that they gave me. Because then I thought, well, what's stopping me doing that? And I couldn't think of a single reason why not to try and be a rock singer, get in a band and tour the world.
Do you know what? You know what you mentioned there about Ronnie James Dio? I'm sure when we interviewed Mike Gray, he had something similar. He was allowed in down in London at Hammersmith Pally during the day list, and he was allowed in, and it was Ronnie James Dio that was playing that night, and he heard them warming up and he heard them sound checking, and he said it just blew his fucking mind to hear somebody sing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mike, wasn't it, Ian?
I think it was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. So
it was an incredible thing. And that started me down the road to being in a band. In that moment, I was no longer the night porter at the hotel cleaning up. At that moment, I changed and I was a rock singer trying to make it who worked at a hotel while I was trying to make it. That was a pivotal moment in my life. And a couple of weeks later, Tamworth Herald, the local paper, we had a fantastic music page of all local bands and national artists. A guy that was a real musical enthusiast wrote that page. And very small at the bottom, heavy metal singer required, no experience necessary. And that was me, man. And it was Jace Edwards and Jeff Haitley. They started a band at school. They were both at school. They started the band. And I went along to the audition. sounded awful. Of course, I thought I sounded like Ronnie James Dio, but I actually sounded like a donkey giving birth, you know. So, and I was, but the what I had going for me, no one else had applied to be the singer. So a week or so later, then they phoned up, say, yeah, you got it. And then Jeff came up with the name Wolfsbane, and we started, and we were so dreadful that we couldn't get away with playing covers because people would know how bad we were. So we wrote original material because then people wouldn't know if it was intentional or not. They go, oh, I've never heard this before. And that's it. They wouldn't know if it was right or wrong. So we came up with this idea. Let's write 10 original songs and then we could do a gig. And that was it. You know, we just stuck together.
Can you remember your Blaze? Can you remember your first ever gig, where it was and how much you get paid?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like, "Whoa." So first ever gig that we did was over in Lichfield at a club called Enots, and we just had 20 minutes part of the bill. The next night was our first headline gig in Tamworth at the Arts Centre, and we'd sold it out, 100 seats, like a tiny little theatre type thing, and had curtains across it, theatre lighting. And I'd said to the DJ at the hotel, I said, could I borrow your smoke machine for an evening? And he said, yeah, okay. So I had the smoke machine, got the guy who was there at the art set the lights up, all red and white lights, and the curtains were across there, and I got the smoke machine on, and bloody hell, in literally 5 seconds, the whole of the place behind the curtains, we couldn't see a thing. Then the thing where, right, open the curtains, all the smoke flooded. I mean, it's only 100 people, tiny room, flooded. No one could see anything. You couldn't see the band until the second song. You wait for the smoke. There's no smoke alarm in the room. Nothing happens. So that was it. And that was our first gig. And it was smoke and red light. Madness. And years later, after our Wolfsbane reunion, Jeff Haitley came over to me and goes, oh, I've got this idea. And it was smoke and red light. And he said, it's about the first gig where, you know, we just open the curtains and all you see is massive smoke. So there were two things that we really wanted. And that was, we wanted to be the biggest band in Tamworth, but we also wanted to be the most outrageous band in Tamworth. And we definitely got that one sorted on the first gig, and we just stuck together. You know, it was a wonderful, wonderful scene that we had. 20 local bands, rock, metal, progressive, pop, you know, all different stuff, and we'd all do gigs together. Oh, do you want to do a gig? Let's book the room. Use your drum kit, we've got the guitar amps, and just like that. There was no snottiness about, oh, well, you're not metal or you're not. Everybody just tried to do a gig, you know, and it was fun. And we just stuck together, and we became the biggest band in Tamworth. And then we became the biggest metal band in Birmingham. And eventually, we were the biggest unsigned metal band in the UK, and without a record deal, just
that was actually said. That was actually a factor, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was.
Without a record deal, selling our own demo tapes and T-shirts, we were playing to 300 people a night at rooms around the UK, and it was an incredible time in music, and I'm so lucky that at that time people were excited about discovering new bands themselves. So there's no social media, there's no internet. So you'd see in a magazine or a paper or word of mouth, oh, have you heard of these? No. So do you know about Wolfsbane? No. Oh, you got to see them. And it would be like that. And so the people that would come and see you were looking for the next band. And you would get fans that would come and see you just because you were outrageous. And it was
you're actually right there, because I remember Lemmy saying in that the film that they made of him with him in it, and he said when he lived in Anglesey, he first found out about the Beatles, because he says before Elvis there was no rock and roll, and before the Beatles there was no music or something like that. And he said it was Liverpool girls going on holiday to Anglesey talking about the Beatles that made him go to his local, I think it was an electric shop, and ask him to get him the albums. So he would bring the albums in. And that's how it was done in them days, because like you say, it's not like it is now where everybody's. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that's where we've lost the magic.
Yeah. A part of the magic has gone, and let's talk pre-COVID. A part of the magic has gone because things are so instant. Google it, who's that? And then the pressure then is you've got to have a reasonable video on YouTube. And that's the first time people are going to see you. And you're up against every other person, big or small, who's got a video. Whereas you go back in time before all of the internet and everything, you would go and see a band, and that would be in your mind, right? Well, they might be small, but they're bloody good. And you'd get a chance. And also the experience, the banter at the gig and stuff like that. Maybe you didn't have to be, maybe you weren't the best musicians in the world, but we always focused on the songs in Wolfsbane. It wasn't about being a virtuoso. It was about having a great song. Manhunt was on our first demo that we did in Tamworth in a cellar with the students who knew how to work a 4-track. So, and that was our first demo. That song's still in the set list now. And we go, it was a catchy song. It's not great music. It was a catchy song that we played the best we could. And it took us a long way, man. Well, that was catchy because you wanted people to understand that the first time and get the energy from it. And I think something's lost because we don't find out about bands in the same way. And I think that's a really good thing about festivals and a positive thing about what's happening now, because in some ways there's less US bands or international bands coming, then promoters are going, oh, we better give a UK band a chance. So you can go to a festival now and see bands that you wouldn't have had a chance of seeing before. And I think that is one really positive thing that's happening right now.
I think one of the other things, Blaze, is that, I mean, you're well known how much you value your fans, and you're well known for really caring about that association with your fans. And that had to change, obviously, with social media. Have you found that social media has helped you that way to keep that close affinity?
Not in the way that you probably think, because there's always been a meet and greet. I mean, way back from Wolfsbane, not when I was in Maiden. Maiden are just too big to do signings of any description. But wherever possible, at a Blaze Bayley show, there's been a free meet and greet. And as time's gone on, I've stuck to that. And I think, well, some people don't like the fact that I do a free meet and greet because they have to charge for their meet and greets. I have a very humble lifestyle. I live for my music. Some people need more money. I don't. For me, I need to say thank you to my fans. So at every Headline Blaze Bayley show, when we send out the contract, and for 1 hour afterwards, the venue must be open for a meet and greet so that I can say thank you, have selfies, and sign for my fans. These are the people that make it possible for me to be a professional heavy metal singer. And it's the smallest thing for me that I can say thank you. People share their stories. Oh, this song meant this to me, and this album's really been a positive thing for me, and stuff like that. It's very, very humbling. And what social media has done for me is because we can take selfies now, everybody can take a selfie and then put it online. And it's like, I met Blaze Bayley. So that's a great thing. And because, especially in Brazil, my signings there are huge. Last time in Brazil, I was signing for 400 people, 350 people. I had to sign before and after the show to do it for everybody. But we did it. And so on social media, I'm looking and somebody says, oh, I'm coming to that show. And I'm saying, could you help me? What do you mean? Well, can you take the photos at the meet and greet and help me with the thing? And then, so I get in touch with people. They come along to the meet and greet. They take the photos for the other fans and like that. So it's been really good. And on social media, I can say the meet and greet at this show will be before the show between 7 and 8:30. The meet and greet at this show will be at this time. At this show, the meet and greet will be after, but you can only have one thing signed. We're very limited on time. So in that way, social media has been very positive because I've been able to tell my fans what I'm up to, what we could do, make it more convenient to meet. Sometimes I can answer personally. People write in, oh, can I have an interview? They don't have to go through like a big record company. I'm a tiny independent artist. We do our interviews on Mondays normally, and that's it. So in that way, social media has worked very well. I'm not a big star on social media because I don't have any big videos. It's as simple as that, you know. And in the world of music, I'm tiny. I'm not popular. You know, I may be famous to a certain extent, but I'm not really popular. Iron Maiden are popular. Lady Gaga is popular. Taylor Swift is popular. I'm like here, man. I'm just tiny, but I'm happy because that's where I want to be. I don't have the paparazzi involved in my life. I don't have journalists trying to talk to my family and my friends and all of this business. I just have some fans that are really loyal and stick with me and listen to what I do and enjoy what I do. And I do the best music that I can for my fans who
Do you know
support
what?
me and fund me directly.
But that is the most important thing, in my opinion. And what you've just said then about like the meet and greet and stuff like that, it is very, very, very rare this day and age because there's too much. There's too many people who are trying to take money, and I'll be brutally honest on this. One of the things that what I grew up with music was to be able to walk down the street and talk to someone, walk down the street and like be able to like talk about your experiences in music. What you just said is it's a note with me, and it means a lot because one of the things that I've always said is like if you can talk to someone and change their life just by a little bit, they'll walk away and you don't know their personal issues. You don't know what's going on in their life, but they've most probably come to you and it's given them that little bit of hope, that little glimmer that makes them walk away and feel priceless that whole night. So it's things like that where we just say thanks to Blaze because it's a lot to sit around and talk to every individual who comes to a show, sign the paperwork,
I think
sign artwork and stuff like that. But it's,
For
I
me,
know where you're coming from.
for me, it's important. But what we have to realize is the shape of the music business has changed radically from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s to what it is now. It's changed radically. It started off selling thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of bits of plastic, CDs, vinyl, and all of that. And that was it. Massive amounts of money coming in from that, so much that even bands paid a tiny bit with so much, they still made a lot of money. All those bits of plastic, people just, the volume of that plastic has gone. There's hardly any factories left that make CDs and vinyl. I think there are 2 factories in Europe that make vinyl. You have to wait 9 months. You have to get in touch, send off your stuff. 9 months later, you might see your finished thing. That's how long it took to get this, 9 months from the factory. You know, it's a different world now with Spotify and all of this. And so they don't have, artists don't have that revenue coming from the sale of bits of plastic like they used to. So they've got to get it from somewhere. What can they do? Oh, well, let's charge for the meet and greet. Well, a lot of people didn't even bother meeting their fans before. So they have the meet. They go, oh, well, okay, we'll do the meet and greet. Oh, we'll get some money because they're desperate for money. On another side of it, when you pay for a meet and greet, they're variable, man, in what people give you. Some people, you'll get a photo and they'll sign it. Some people, you'll get a whole pack of stuff with a CD and all of that, and the price and different things. I don't want to get involved in that. My fans buy my albums, my T-shirts and concert tickets. That's all I need. And the rest of it is just thank you from me to the people that make it possible. And I always had confidence and faith in fans, where in the music business, that would be called punters. Punters. Well, isn't that someone who's gambling? I don't think fans are gambling. They're finding out about the band. They're listening to music. If they like it, they'll buy the next record. That's not a gamble. So then the kids, that's another thing. The kids, I'm like, the kids. I'm a grown man and I'm a record buyer and I go to concerts, but I'm one of the kids. How insulting. And so before internet and social media, and before we could start hearing albums, big advertising campaigns, and bands could get away with making a crap album and sell enough of it on the back of a load of hype and advertising to make a profit. Ha ha! Those days are gone, mate. Now it's like, well, okay, well, I'm not spending the 15 quid on the album until I've heard it because I don't trust them. And that's great because it makes everybody, all right, well, I've got to do a good album. For me, it's great because, well, I put my heart and soul into every record. And my fans buy the record. If they hear it or not, they go, okay, well, it's a Blaze Bayley album. I have to get it. I'm a fan. I support him, good or bad. And I'm very, very lucky. A lot of my fans are saying now that War Within Me is perhaps the best album I've done out of all my solo career and my albums with Iron Maiden and with Wolfsbane. A lot of my fans are saying War Within Me album is possibly the best album I've ever done. I started 35 years ago. So for fans to say that is incredibly humbling, man. And I've still got ideas and I'm still looking forward to making new records and doing new things. Heavy metal is a narrow mountain path musically. And as heavy metal fans, I'm the same as everybody else. I really don't want people deviating too far off the path and making me fall down the mountain. I want to go along the path I know and I can see clearly it's a heavy metal path. That's where I want to go. But along there, somehow, people find a little way to innovate, to change, to get a new flavor, and that's it. It's the joy and the curse of heavy metal music. Heavy metal played badly is absolutely the worst, most tedious, boring music. It's awful when every cliche is there. It's like, oh no, oh god, what people think heavy metal should be. But just a little bit away is heavy metal played well in the hands of people who know how to use it is the most powerful, magical, wonderful experience you could possibly have. But it's still heavy metal. We don't know. And that's, as fans, that's where the trust is. That's why we follow Iron Maiden and bands like that, and Sabaton and Saxon and Disturbed and all of these. Right, we know this. We know that's what we like. We know we're gonna get that, and it's good quality. But all of those things, all of those bands have a lot more in common than they have differences.
Yeah.
And that's the world that I live in. When we made War Within Me, we said, let's remember what it's like to be 14 and hearing a power chord for the first time, hearing harmony guitars for the first time. Let's remember that. Right, here it's a power chord. No, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. No, solo. Yeah, oh no, is that the end? No, it's not. That's the beginning. No, it goes fast. And then it's the melody. And now we're about to, and that's it, man. That's where we are. In the world where we love the music. And I'm very, very lucky because at the meet and greets I've had, I've met fans who've come again and again, and I've made friends with some people. And we're there talking about the kind of album we want to end up with and thinking, what about Sandy and Pat? What are they going to think? They've been to 100 gigs. What are they going to think of this album? At the time when they've been waiting 2 years for a new album, it's COVID, everything's turned crap. Blaze Bayley's their favourite singer. What's going to happen when they get there? It better be good. And if you think about it, I started having this feeling that there's so much against us. People are going to get the album and it's going to be in their head. They're going to put the headphones on or take me to the bedroom or put me in the car with them. I'm going to be in their head. What am I going to say when I get there? What's my message going to be? It's got to be positive. When you put War Within Me album on, at the end of it, you've got to feel like you didn't want to skip a track and you feel better and ready to get up and go and fight back. And that's what I wanted out of it. And I'm very, very lucky that fans have supported me.
Blaze, what you've just said then is basically what we advise our younger bands who are coming through and stuff like that, that you've got to have an album that when you play it from the start, that people can't let it go. You don't put fillers in. You make it one of those albums which rock. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, which is key, is obviously you've been going for 35 years. How do you protect your voice? How do you warm up? And what is the best way? What advice could you give a singer who wants to learn to make sure that they look after themselves?
Well, I'm not a natural singer. I fully and readily admit that. I love to sing. I've always enjoyed singing, but I'm not a natural singer. I learned to sing. So the key for me to what I've done, and it's been up and down, I've developed a technique that works for me. So in difficult times, I can rely on my technique to produce the notes and produce that voice. You've got to find what works for you. That's my opinion. And I've been to different vocal coaches along the way. I don't think you should accept everything that people say. I think you should try it on and go, does this suit me? Is this something that I feel comfortable with? Does it work for me? If it doesn't, leave it. If it does, it could be crazy. Well, I'll keep it. And the best vocal coach I went to did all West End singers or show singers and things like that. He's in the maiden years. And I said, well, I'm struggling with this. And he said, well, there's a couple of bits of simple technique that you're missing. And if you learn these things, I really think it's going to help you. And the really nice thing he said, Mr. Shapiro is his name. He said, we want you to be able to produce the sound that people recognize as Blaze Bayley. But we want you to be able to do it in a way that is less strain and stress so that you can keep that voice. And that's what I did. I studied, I had a couple of lessons, couple of sessions with him. I took that, and then other things that I learned along the way in the studio and working with different people. One, over the years, you can say there's a couple of things, unpleasant as they may be, that I've found to be true for me. And that is, don't drink alcohol before the show. That's for me. I'm not preaching. I'm not saying to anybody, you must do this, you must do that. But over the years, performing at every level, from the youth club to the stadium of 70,000 people, I found it to be true that it's Dutch courage. Some people want this, some people want to feel relaxed. No, for me, I need to be calm, but I've got to find that calm place in here. And there's no drugs or alcohol that's going to get me to a place. And also, it's going to desensitize my voice. So there's potential damage and difficulty getting the notes. And what people either don't know or forget is that alcohol affects your hearing. So 3 dB can go off your hearing. So that means you need things louder when you've been drinking alcohol. Even if you're not pissed or drunk, you'll still need that. So for me, that's been one of the things. No booze before the show. Try and drink 2 liters of water a day. I have never been a smoker. I've never been interested in drugs at all. So that's another thing. People do all sorts, and talking is so destructive. So it's a kind of monastic thing in one way. People think of me sometimes a gregarious, crazy guy, always going mad on stage. Oh, yeah. But what they don't see, what most people don't see, and a few of my hardcore fans know what I'm like, but what most people don't see is that Blaze Bayley stays on the stage And then the quiet man has to go back into the dressing room and speak like this or not speak at all. And all my team know that I must be quiet. I can't, because this is destructive. Basically, speaking at a reasonable volume for an hour costs you more than a gig. So you're going to be hoarse the next day as if you've done a show, but all you were doing was talking like this enthusiastically. Don't talk in a loud room. Don't go to the bar and go, yeah, it was a great gig, weren't it? Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love coming to Mexico. Your voice is going to be gone, man. But obviously it depends on the style of singing and the things that you do. Warm up has to be gentle. And normally I have just a few exercises. I set my alarm for 30 minutes before the show. If I haven't started warming up, I must warm up then. Do stretches. If you can go to a yoga class, a couple of yoga classes, get some stretches, learn some stretches, all great breathing. Singing is breath. Breath is life. And so singing is life. That's the way I am. Everything has to support this. When you're a vocalist or a singer, your body is your instrument, right? All these idiots on the guitar, oh, got a blister. So what? Well, you can get a new pack of strings. You can put some super glue on your finger. You can't do nothing about this, mate, when it goes. You've got to go on steroids, have injections, take the maximum amount of ibuprofen to get this down. If it starts going on, and if you get laryngitis, there's no way back from that. So you constantly, I mean, in one way, it's a joke for me. Oh, hands, face, space. I've been doing that for 30 years, right? It's like, yeah, I don't want to get a cold. I don't want to get the flu. If I shake someone's hand, I never touch my face until I've washed my hands or got the gel on my hand. I've been doing that for 30 years, avoiding that, keeping distance from people, all of that. I do my meet and greet, and I try, after I have a good wash and everything. Like, oh, man, that's what it's like. It's a different way to live. And what you've got to ask, for me, in my, I can only speak for myself, but you've got to ask yourself this. How many gigs you got coming up? Right. You got to last 2 shows. Okay. So try and minimize your sound check. Your rehearsals are your key thing. Yeah. Your backline is your key thing. Get your backline to the lowest volume you can possibly have, so you're not fighting with the vocals. So you don't want to strain this. Right. Keep your sound check as short as you can. Right. That's your 2 shows. How many shows you got coming up? 5 shows. All right, then. That's a different way to look at it. That means no alcohol before or after the show, because it's going to affect you and the way you sleep. The only thing that will heal you is proper sleep. So that alcohol's out the way. Then your bandmates have got to do the sound check for you if possible. It's not that difficult to sound check a voice, okay? So you work out a way between you in rehearsals, and you don't do the sound check. You do the first one, maybe you do the second, you don't do the third, you don't do the fourth, 5, 6, 7, and you'll make that gig if you haven't been drinking any alcohol, taking any drugs, staying up all night talking, getting involved with the wrong kind of woman. And that's it. That's how you get through. I've done 10 in a row, 12 in a row. I've got to show 12, and I've still got most of my voice left, and I'm able to do a passionate and strong performance. that comes at a price of not talking most of the time. And my band, my team doing this, I don't do any sound checks like that. That's how it goes, you know. So those are things to work out. Those are the details. That's how I've kept my voice. Different people, different voices. I would say one of the main things for people losing their voice is cocaine. So many stories are, oh, it was great till he went on the cocaine. And then people are singing, they've had booze, they're coked up, and all the sensitivity has gone. And instead of war within me, every day I fight, there is a war within me. Instead of that, then you got, and that's the difference, man. And it's just there. And you'll see some people, and you go, close your eyes, and go, fuck me, they've got a dog on stage, haven't they? No.
I think the thing
is, you know, they're supposed to be singing. The
thing is, Blaze, it's a bit like a football. It's a bit like a sportsman, isn't it?
Exactly.
If you have to rely on certain aspects, certain physical things that you need to do to be at the top of your game, and you start not doing that, then you've shortened you just affect yourself so badly. And you have to be the Ronaldo, that you know, the type of guy that's going to go, I know I'm going to have to pay a heavy price to be able to do this for a long time at the top level. And you either have to pay that price or you don't, but you make your mind up right at the start. So I think what you've just shared there for young new vocalists is absolutely priceless, mate.
Well, you know, I remember we did the US tour with Wolf Spain, and it was absolutely horrible tour. And I wasn't wrecked every night. I had a couple of beers, maybe something, just not, you know, because for me, even though it was only 30 minutes the next day and we were third on the bill, it was still, for me, I want to sing well.
Yeah.
I love to sing. I want to sing to the best of my ability. And that's the focus. What's your choice? One of the great things about being in Maiden, so experienced, there's never any question about what, if you're going out or having a drink or anything, people understand straight away, yeah, it's tough. As a vocalist, you can't talk, and everybody supports you in that. So people know that you can't talk, that you've got to be quiet, it's difficult, problems and all of that. There's no question. Whereas I think when you're new, when you're in a younger band, you have sometimes a peer pressure. Oh, come on, one won't kill you. Have a drink. It's completely unfair. You need your bandmates to protect you, and you need your bandmates to be in a situation as the vocalist, but this has to be reciprocated by the vocalist, because you are the one that can destroy the gig or save the gig or make the gig with what you say and how you perform and your attitude towards fans. But your bandmates should be treating your voice as something very sensitive, fragile, and precious that they have to protect as much as you. So and I've been lucky in this situation that with the guys that I work with, you know, I've been in situations where it's terrible thing of, do some shots with me. Oh man. It's like, no, you know, it's bad for my, it's good for your voice. And then I start getting wound up. What? Are you a fucking doctor? You're telling me that's been singing for 35 years what's good for my voice? How many fucking records have you made and sold? You cunt. Bang! You know, it's all gone out of hand. So quite simply then, what happens is, like, the lads will keep an eye on me. And if someone starts approaching me after the show, go, oh, come and do a shot, then what they do is they'll come in and go, oh, whoop, and it'll appear as if they've stolen the drink. And they'll be like, oh, the bloke will go, and then I'll be able to duck away, you see. So
we won't give away too many of your secrets, though, Blaze. We can't. We've got to keep that safe.
Other that, but you know, it just gets to the stage where I used to enjoy, you know, years ago, not that long ago, you could finish the meet and greet and then maybe have a beer with a couple of fans, and people would have the stories about how they got into you and stuff. Really cool, you know, stories and things. And then some drunk idiot will come and it's all wrecked. So that's it. I don't hang out. I don't drink. I don't, after, you know, how things will be in the next couple of years, I don't know if we'll get back to doing meet and greets. But if we do, it'll be just the same. I'll do my selfies, do my signing, and then that's it.
Listen, mate, when you write your autobiography, Blaze Bayley, the metal monk, there it is. I've given it to you right there, dude.
Well, that's it. But I think it's right. I look at it like this, and that sports analogy is absolutely spot on. Now, Jenson Button, you've probably heard of him, world, you know, racing driver, champion, and all of that. Do you think that Jenson Button is going to the bar before the race and go, I just have a couple of halves, you know. Do you think he's going on the piss after practice? Or no, he's not at all. He's so blatantly dedicated. So are the top sportsmen doing that? Is Usain Bolt going to the bar?
To be honest, Blaze, one of the things that I've always said with the bands that I've always been, it's a job. If you were doing a 9 till 5 job, would you go in half cut? And the answer's no. You get fired straight away.
Well, yeah.
So why treat your band differently from a normal job?
Well, for me, it's a disrespect towards fans.
Yeah.
Because if you're expecting the support of fans, why aren't you giving the fans the absolute best you can so that they will go, actually, this guy's worth supporting? So I think that it is a job, but what you have to put in to that is it's a dream job.
Yeah.
And if you're as lucky as I am to be a full-time professional heavy metal singer, there's only one person that can make that happen for you, and that's your fans. Without them, forget it, mate. It's just it cannot happen. And if you've got a few fans and then a manager that will protect your artistic vision and also manage to keep you afloat in between albums, and if you've got good people around you and you're not wasting time on futile things like booze and drugs, then I really think there's a chance. But you have to love music. You have to love it, man. Don't trivialize it. It's so precious. There's a term, a word, a phrase that has different meanings to different people. Rock and roll. And it's one of the most vile and misunderstood things. For my era of rock and roll, when I started, it meant this: the wheel comes off the van, the axle comes out, scrapes along the road, all the equipment is scattered down the road, you still get to the gig and you still play a full set, right? That's rock and roll. But over the years, rock and roll begins something different. Oh, I had a bottle of Jack Daniels, went on and had done the gig anyway. It's completely alien to me. I'm a working class man. I want to turn up and do my work, but also I'm very, very competitive. And a lot of people are, we were in Wolfsbane. I don't just want to do a gig. I want this to be the best gig you've seen in this venue. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to score the winning goal in the World Cup final for my country. That's what I'm trying to do. And every single show, sometimes I fail, sometimes I win. It's the Champions League. What am I going to do? Will it be a no-score draw, or will I connect with enough people to get it coming back that I can say, yeah, Champions League, I fucked it. I won it, mate. I won it because I got in the ears, in the heart of my fans, and suddenly the room disappears and we're completely connected. And it's a different way to look at it. It's a philosophy and a way of life. If you're going to be in a band, going to be a singer, for me, it's a way of living that I'm very lucky and very fortunate to be able to do.
You know what, Blaze? I think that is the perfect way to end it today. And I just want to say thank you very much, because what you've advised will help so many young bands understand it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
100%.
Really appreciate your time. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah,
we'd love to have you back on, talk about your next tour, when you're going to be doing it, where you're going to be doing it. And what we'll do is I'll put all your links down below, because
thank you very much.
Anytime, mate. It's been a pleasure. Like I say, we'll put all the links down below. So guys, if you've never heard of Blaze before, click the links below, because I am telling you, you will be blown away. The guy can actually, his songwriting skills, his musical essence is absolutely second to none. So like I say, check him out. I've done it many times. I've followed him for absolutely years, and I feel privileged to actually spend time speaking to him. So thank you very much, Blaze. John, it's over to you, mate.
Well, when we started doing these shows, the idea was to bring people on that would give you advice that might help you. There's no doubt tonight Blaze has done that. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank him as well. And all I would like to say is, until next time, hit that cowbell and subscribe.